What I want to talk about is leadership. And so if we take a period of time, I'm going to start with March 2020, because that's really where in sort of Australia, New Zealand, that's where we started to feel the real impacts and consequences of the COVID pandemic. And that changed the world. It changed work, it changed home, it changed, industry, community, whole countries. So when we talk about change and we talk about this kind of turbulent change that was sort of imposed on us, really, we've got a long-term perspective to consider. This is not something that will be done in 12 months or 2 years. I'm going to use a 3-year time frame today. And when you think about you and your team and your business and your industry, there's going to be a point sometime in that 3-year spectrum, a point at which your team, your business, your industry is going to survive or not. So we'll call it the survival line. Okay. Now, the thing is, when we look at how leaders have acted, how they've responded to this period of turbulence, there are 3 distinct patterns, and you've probably seen some form of this yourself. So the first response was a freeze response, that like, we've got this big problem and I don't know what to do with it. So the freeze response is a panic response. And early in the year, it was very evident and concerning, because when leaders freeze, they stop leading. And that doesn't do them, their teams, their business, their customers, anybody, any good. And so the freeze response kind of looks like this. And when we have a freeze response, if we don't change that leadership means that business, that team is unlikely to get past the survival line. That doesn't do us any good. Another kind of response was the fright response, where people are really busy and they're scurrying and they're going this way and that way, like this. And this is a really unfocused response. And from a leadership perspective, what it means is we end up where we started. We use all this energy. It's often, I guess, what you would notice in like a hoarding type response, thinking toilet paper here. It doesn't actually do us a lot of good. So while those businesses, teams, and industries may be surviving, they haven't actually changed. They haven't become ready for the future. They're actually in the same place they started. Again, not necessarily where we want to be. The third type of leadership response that we've seen has been the fight response, the making decisions, taking action response, the looking not just at what we need to do now, but what we need to do to prepare for the future. Yeah, so this is a positioning response. This is a strategically focused response. And businesses who have leaders and teams that have those kind of leaders, they get to the survival line and then they're in a position where there is opportunity because they've done the work, they've made the decisions, they've built capability, they've identified potential opportunities, and they've actually done something about it. And so when you reflect on your leadership, on which line are you tracking at the moment? Or were you tracking and maybe it's changed? Now, some people started in the freeze mode and then they went into the kind of the frenzy mode and now they're getting strategic. Some went into the frenzy mode first and it didn't get them anywhere. So then they froze because they didn't know what to do next. So all of these are, they're valid responses, but we need to identify where we are and then make the choice to step into our leadership. We must get into the strategically focused space to position ourselves and our teams and our business and our industry, because otherwise we won't survive and we won't be ready. There will be opportunities that are going to be there for those who are prepared. But if you haven't thought about it, if you haven't been leading your people, then you're not going to be able to take advantage of that opportunity.